Each year, Microsoft Research hosts hundreds of influential speakers from around the world, including leading scientists, renowned experts in technology, book authors, and leading academics, and makes videos of these lectures freely available.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lee Dirks. I'm the Director for Portfolio Strategy at Microsoft Research Connections. Welcome to Transforming Scholarly Communication. I'm going to simply do a quick introduction for Mary Lee Kennedy to kind of provide us some opening remarks, and then I will follow up with some logistics. But for the time being, I'd like to introduce Mary Lee Kennedy from Harvard University.
Can you hear me? No. Now can you hear me? Yes? No. Okay, forget it. How about that? Oh. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. So thank you. It's a beautiful, beautiful day by the Charles River. I hope you're enjoying our nice October weather. It's a pleasure to have you here today at the workshop. This is a particularly valuable workshop because it's focused on up and running technologies that will improve scholarship and communication. I'm really looking forward to the output of this. I'm probably one of these people that Alyssa says the words strategy, policy, and stakeholders way too often, so I apologize in advance. But the outcomes are really important. Firstly, just by having all of you in the room to learn about what you're doing. The 6 statements will be fundamental to focus our attention on things that we can get done. And I particularly like the idea of wrapping them up in some sort of guide for others to use. At Harvard, we've already started talking about getting together to figure out what we can do as a result of this workshop immediately following the discussions today. So I'm sure we're only one example of what can happen afterwards. This is particularly relevant to the Harvard Library as it puts in place a strategic direction that we need to decide will best benefit scholars and learning in the 21st century. It does sound trite, and I'm sure you're saying, ho-hum, another transformation, another 21st century conversation. But the Harvard Library really is in a moment of marked transformation. We are taking this year to reflect on where we need to go. And so it's not trite for us. And while we've just celebrated our 375th anniversary, perhaps thinking about what we need to do in the next 100 years isn't that outrageous after all. We will build some future basis on choices that we make here today and choices we'll make in different settings, but focusing on these new forms of scholarship, the kind that we talk about that may be even possibly revolutionary, will allow us as a library to take these and concretely assess whether we're in a position to contribute or not. We'll really see whether we can enable or could even enable the creation of new knowledge, to manage its explicit forms, and to provide access to it in meaningful ways. Clearly there is an evolution, and even really, I think, perhaps an upcoming revolution in the nature of digital information. And since we are firmly in the digital age, it's incumbent on us to be able to make sense of it. You are here today to help us to do that. We also have to discover new ways of providing opportunities for critical inquiry, and I think the information that you work with will provide us that opportunity as well. In the case of the Harvard Library, we are not a standalone institution, and in fact, what is a library in the 21st century is a great question. We know that whatever we choose to do is composed of an interplay between what's happening in higher education, what happens in faculty development, what's happening in all the research disciplines, the way people teach and learn, new forms of information science, in-depth knowledge of the changing nature of information sources, a very complex and unresolved information industry as yet, and the importance of all of us working together as a cross-functional team. Whatever we choose to do going forward, we'll have a strong digital theme that factors in a global network, which I think is somewhat represented by the different accents that you can find in the room here today, and the very overused but fundamental practice of innovation. Harvard is already going there. We've held the Harvard Digital Scholarship Summit for the past 2 years. We've formed a cross-university team that's going to work on what Harvard needs to make it easier for breakthroughs in digitally based research. We're already committed to scholarly communications, open access, coalition building to provide greater access to information, digitization projects, and open metadata, to name a few. Through the Library Lab, the Law School Library Innovation Lab, the Meta Lab, Dataverse, and other efforts, there is already a huge commitment to collaborative innovation, and many, if not all of these groups are represented here today. What you will do will hopefully provide us an opportunity to collectively focus on a few actual opportunities that we can do to make a difference that also enables others in their own transformations. Thank you, and have a great couple of days.
Thank you very much, Mary Lee. All right, so I've got a lot of logistical details to walk through for you, so bear with me here for a few minutes. First off, I wanted to recognize and thank Harvard Library and the Center for Astrophysics for the reception last night for Harvard University hosting. So please join me in thanking for the reception last night. I also, in addition to Harvard University Microsoft Research, I also wanted to call out the two other kind of major sponsors as we have here, the Sloan Foundation. So if I could ask Josh to stand up, and everyone meet Josh Greenberg. And Chris Mensel from the Moore Foundation. So my thanks to both of you. Sincere thanks for helping co-sponsor this. A lot of your travel, your accommodations, the food, the receptions, etc., like that is very much responsible. These guys are very much responsible for making that happen. So that's great. Very fired up about participating with you in this event. Thank you. I also, I know we did a quick introduction at the reception last night, but I also wanted to call out the organizing committee. So for those members of the organizing committee, if I could ask you to stand up and maybe quickly introduce yourselves. And I call them out. Thank you very much for all of your work organizing. And I wanted you to make sure get name and face recognition over the course of the next 2 days. If there's any questions, if there's any issues, if you have a suggestion or idea, make sure and stop myself or one of the members of the organizing committee. So thank you very much. A few other logistical points. Hopefully everyone has wireless access. The code was available at the registration desk, but if you have any questions, let me know. Related to that, we are videotaping the event. And so everyone was asked to actually fill out a speaker release form. Even if you're not giving a demo, we still, in case you were caught on camera or involved in question and answering, et cetera, we need you to fill out this form. So we'll please ask that you complete that form as well. In terms of handouts that are over at the front desk, hopefully everyone got a copy of the agenda. And there's also a list of workshop attendees with contact information. So I wanted to make sure that you knew about that. And for the Luddites like myself who actually still like to read paper, I did make 30 or 40 copies of the white paper where's Anita? Anita, thank you so much for representing the folks from Dagstuhl and the Force 11 group, so for sharing this white paper. But if you want a paper copy, there will be a few copies available at the front desk. So thank you very much to you and your colleagues for sharing an early version. The next thing that I wanted to do, I'll pop down to that in a minute. Obviously, we brought all of you here to participate in this because you were known to either, or some member of the organizing committee knows you, was familiar with your work and your interest in this space. And that's specifically why you've been asked to participate in this event, because of your passion and your interest in pushing forward scholarly communication. Goals of this workshop are fundamentally to restate what we've kind of tried to capture in emails and on the website, is to get together these passionate people and put in front of them cutting edge but scalable and available technology. And so that's what you'll be seeing over the course of the morning, is demos that we've highlighted that we think are important to share. You may be familiar with this work, you may not be, but the idea is to start putting these ideas in your mind for consumption later as we move into the breakout groups. Everyone has been assigned to a breakout group of the 6 categories. We'll move into those breakout groups later. These will be led by a facilitator. And the facilitators, if I could ask them to stand up very quickly, and we'll ask you to identify the session, who you are, and the session that you'll be facilitating. Phil?
Cameron Allen, I've worked at STFC and Digital Online. And I'm doing session 6, which is about collaboration and incentives.
Phil Bourne, I met most of you last night. I'll be doing resources.
I'm Amy Brand from Harvard. I'll be doing a review session, which would really be called Metrics.
And I'm Dave Drew from Oxford Research Centre, and I'm the platforms.
Thank you very much. We're going to be asking a lot of the facilitators, and one of the first things that I think the facilitators should do is in your sessions identify a scribe and or a reporter. So you please feel free to delegate that responsibility. But the facilitator will be moderating their session of 2, 3, 4 demos. They will also be kind of managing and driving the breakout sessions that will happen this afternoon and this evening. You'll note that one of the main on the agenda for the breakout sessions, you'll see that there are a series of, that we're asking that the statements include or kind of try and cover these 5 bullet points. The facilitator will be in charge of pulling that, working with the team to pull the responses and those statements together. And these are simply a starting point, so please feel free to include. You guys are literally the experts in the field, and so we ask you to use these as a jumping off point for as you create your statements. Another round of introductions that I wanted to make are, in addition to Sloan and Moore Foundation, there are other people in the audience that represent, I would say, organizations or institutions that fund research in one form or another. And we felt it was very important as the organizing committee that these people were here and participated in this event. And so I would like to ask the people that I sent the email to that represent funding agencies, Josh and Chris, you don't have to stand up again, but maybe if I could ask the other members that I'd sent the email to. Mimi, is Mimi here? All right. So yeah, please, Mahil. Mahil's from the Surf Foundation. If you could maybe introduce yourselves.
Right, Rachel Bruce from GIS in the UK. So we provide infrastructure but also fund a lot of change programs in the sector, which do tons of work in scholarly communication and progressive research. So very pleased to be here.
We're a National Science Foundation. We're on the cyber infrastructure with data data programs on data and managing data and moving our data networks to make scientific available.
And Caitlin Vaney from Digital Science. We're a bit different than the other funding groups that are here, because I'm also giving a demo of some of the tools. We're a technology company for scientific research, but we also serve as a funding person here, because we have an investment arm. So we serve as an incubator for startups and businesses that are already pushing the ball forward and developing tools to help build out their products, build out their teams, and create a stronger partnership network of the various groups that are involved. So you'll hear more about that today.
Thank you all very much. And I wanted you to make sure, again, to put names and faces. feel free to engage with them on a one-by-one basis if you have questions, etc. But we wanted to make sure that they were here, that they were present, they were participating in the event so that they can provide input about what their organizations might be looking for. It gives you perhaps an opportunity to help shape their programs and their thinking about what is necessary for funding. We're going to hopefully be kind of pointing out some opportunities for change, and change rarely happens without a little cash involved, is my experience. So I think it would be behoove us to include them in the conversation and make sure that they're fully apprised of what we're doing and what we're proposing. So hopefully we're counting on, I should state, in the email that I sent to the team, we're not expecting them to have a cash book, in hand, a checkbook in hand right now. The idea is that you can help influence and that we might be able to see something flow and come from after this event. So what we might go ahead and do now is move on, and we'll prepare for the demos. Before I move on really quick, are there any points that you wanted me to make?
I think you got almost everything. I'll just say one really technical thing. The projector has a little bit of an issue, so for anybody who's giving a demonstration, please put your computer, as it says there, to 1024 by 768 before you plug it in, where the computer will get stuck on whatever other aspect ratio the projector will, and have the Wi-Fi working for your demo. And so we'll try to stick to this schedule, and Lee has a lovely timer there for everybody that so you get 10 minutes total. You can use it however you want, and he will, I don't know, step on you.
Scream, tackle.
But obviously we have a lot of time this afternoon, and it's supposed to be for discussion, and so if we cut into it a little bit, that's okay, but let's try and, this is supposed to be just an advertisement of these particular software packages and sites. And then the hope is that everybody this afternoon, when you're talking in your groups, you can bring up plenty of other examples, and in the eventual very highly linked documents that you create, it's totally fine to have examples way beyond what you see here this morning. So thanks.
So yeah, a question?
Yes, it's up there. Sorry, it's pound MSR workshop.
MSR workshop.
The policy,
Why
it's not secret.
Transparency is good.
There's nothing here that's secret. You can't comment on people's, hairstyles or anything like that, but it's okay otherwise. There's also, right, we get in trouble with Jen if you don't mention. Everybody's supposed to sign one of these release forms because there's video of the meeting, and so you might wind up on the video.
Thank you.